Metamorphosis, a theme that's been recurring in human culture and myth for the longest time. Whether it be Dionysus turning a bunch of women into trees for killing Orpheus, Zeus deciding to turn Atalanta into a lion for breaking an oath she held, or some more contemporary examples. But recently I was watching the PBS web series Monstrum, and they covered one of the more repeated metamorphoses in myth, the werewolf. And one aspect, namely the Germanic tales of wolf transformation, involving a wolfskin belt, had me thinking a bit. Now I'm a simple computer. When I think of a transformation involving a belt, my first thought is naturally...
Rider!
Now, while the tales of wolfmen in Germanic lore are almost exclusively negative and antagonistic depictions of a horrific transformation, basically causing a person to indulge in many more animalistic impulses and violence, when you consider Shotaro Ishinomori's penchant for horror themes, and the major overall theme of Kamen Rider being taking power that was intended for evil purposes, and harnessing it for good, is it too much to ponder if maybe Kamen Rider may have been influenced by these sorts of myths in its development? Now, the main major transforming hero up until that point had been Ultraman, so our modern ideas of transformation devices didn't really have a super historic precedent yet. And Japan of the era had a lot of Western ideas, from Germany and America especially, melting into its pop culture at the time. Whether it be Tezuka's influence from rubber hose animation with his manga works like Kimba, or, well, the infamous episode of Ultraman Ace where the Ultra Brothers were crucified. So there's a pretty big precedent for ideas being transferred over, and maybe some liberties being taken. And when you can pretty cleanly draw a comparison a more contemporary Toku has to certain werewolf tales, Garo, which has a lot of similarities to Irish folk tales involving the werewolves of Osiri, which, for the record, were stories where men would transform into wolves spiritually, leaving their bodies behind to fight malevolent forces. I'm sure I'm simplifying that way too much, but point is, there's probably some inspiration there. And before you write all of it off as coincidence, I mean, oh, it's a belt transforming thing. That's such a simple detail, there's no possible way. Well, I mean, prior to Ishinomori's passing, he had shown some pretty clear favor to Shin Kamen Rider, the 90s one, not the much more recent film. And in my opinion, you can draw some pretty clear comparisons to Shin's transformation. And the infamous transformation scenes present in the film An American Werewolf in London. So what do you think? Does Kamen Rider carry a speck of werewolf inspiration in there? Do we have werewolves to thank for our modern henshin heroes? The subject honestly fascinates me a lot, and I want to talk about it in the comments with other people.